Hi, this is Jack Stanley, and I always like to encourage people when it comes to history and the study of history and in your research is try to go back to original sources. And there's a reason for that. That when you read a history book, when you read someone's interpretation of what happened 150, 160 years ago, sometimes you'll be amazed when you look at the original documents, look at the original facts, and then read what has been interpreted. It's kind of an interesting thing to see, and I always surround myself with early books, especially like in the United States government. I have a lot of governmental books, books from the House of Representatives and the Senate, and all talking about various events that were very important. And this book here is no exception. This is basically the Civil War. The beginnings of the Civil War is in this book. I'll show you a couple of things. This is from the House of Representatives, the Select Committee of Five. And it's going through all the various things, but if you look toward the bottom, you'll see the seizures of forts and arsenals and things like that. And when you read through this, and this entire book is filled with all the activity of 1860 going into 1861 through the last days of the Buchanan administration. In fact, the date of this, they're very precise on their dates when it's introduced, is March the 2nd, 1861, which is 2 days before Abraham Lincoln is inaugurated as President of the United States. And so this mess that's in this book was laid onto Lincoln's lap. That's an important thing. You know, a lot of times we talk about Lincoln or other individuals in our history, and we talk about how they held or were dealt with a situation. And we talk about how we look at the situation from our viewpoint. But it's amazing when you sit there and take a look at what was going on, that you can finally get a real, honest-to-goodness picture of what was facing Abraham Lincoln when he became president. Now, this is all about seizures, forts, treasuries, arsenals, all falling, and the various letters going back and forth. And you know, in this section here, I just happened to look at it, and I was just going through this, and if you'll pardon me, I need to put my glasses down. You see revenue cutters, the captains resigning. Here is from the revenue cutter William Aiken, Charleston, South Carolina, December 26th, 1860. And he writes, "Will you communicate to the Secretary of Treasury my resignation as captain in the revenue cutter service to take effect from this date?" And he talks about his affairs, blah, blah, blah. And they're very, very nice. I mean, the way, it's very respectively, and your obedient servant, was it N.L. Coste? And of course, we go on. Someone else writes, being a citizen of South Carolina. All of a sudden, South Carolina became like almost its own country. And I'm looking here as we go along to the next page here. Baton Rouge, Louisiana. The armory has just been taken over. And here we have Charleston, South Carolina, taking over the operations of various structures and buildings. as we continue, and here's one, Captain LZ to Captain Cooper, Augusta, Georgia. I have the honor to report that the arsenal was surrendered this morning to the governor of Georgia upon honorable terms. Herewith enclosed. And of course, the military arsenal, with all the military effects, was surrendered. And so, I'm just touching a little bit of this, but it's pages and pages and pages of each and every organization surrendering, and each and every organization being taken over by the new government of the Confederacy, which was somewhat not totally fused together yet. They were almost acting as separate countries to a degree, immediately after the secession from the United States, mainly after the election of Abraham Lincoln. And this disaster, which in this book, this is the Civil War. This is exactly what's going on. This is the stuff you don't get to read. And this makes it far more fascinating, makes it more real, makes it more understandable. They're doing constant interviews with people who are doing various things, and they're explaining everything that's going on in minute detail. So I like to encourage people. A lot of times people don't want to have lots of books, but if I can encourage you, surround yourself with books from a certain time period. If you're fascinated with the Civil War, it's great to buy books all about the Civil War, but find some books from the period, because the viewpoint, the conversations, and the opinions sometimes are quite different than what you will read generations later. Thank you.